Hello, you multi-malt meter machines, and thank you to Dan Clare for that malt mention. I'm Ralphie here in the Bothy, bringing you Ralphie Review 949 extras. Extras over and above and beyond standard, conventional, detailed and slightly eccentric spirit reviews, primarily Scotch whisky. It's what makes me roll. It's how I tick. And in this extras, I'm going to discuss what happens in October. Right. A number of things happen in October that you need to be aware of. And the first one is that it's Sober October. And you now have an increasing momentum of people who do consume alcohol, but are experiencing the tangible benefits of saving money and getting better health by not drinking too much too often in the form of alcohol. And it's gathered a bit of momentum this Sober October, in that, particularly with the younger generation, there's more options as regards narcotics these days. In the old days, it was alcohol and cigarettes, and that was basically it. And only the hippies and the rock stars had anything alternative. But times have significantly changed, and it's really interesting to watch the conversation morph, particularly online, as people become more proactive in not just monitoring their health and looking after the health, but investing in the health. And this is why you have Sober October. So I do recommend, and I mean this is from the Bothy, and you don't hear this in many channels, but I do recommend that you do take time out and break up any developing habits of alcohol consumption to give yourself a respite, to give yourself a holiday. It's not just to give your constitution, your liver and your bloodstream a rest from exposure to alcohol. Alcohol in small quantities is fine. It's not detrimental. It's when use becomes abuse and you simply consume too much that you have an issue. And it's not just volume of consumption, it's regularity and habit of consumption. So in October, it's a good way of just cleansing the system in time for the big drinking time of year, which is November, December and January. Talking of which, in October, you'll also find that the OSWA's voting concludes, and the panel, the bespoke boutique, that's what we are, a boutique panel of invigilators, basically Roy over at Aquavit and myself, pour over all the results, and we let the algorithms online do the statistical crunching for us. With all the thousands of votes we've received, Maltmates, thank you for all of you who have voted in the OSWA's. We really appreciate it. It makes it much more meaningful when there is tangible, visible interaction and endorsement. And we'll be getting the results on November the 5th. So make a note in your diary at Aquavit's channel. You'll find it on YouTube, where we'll have the official presentation of the awards over several hours, if not slightly more, on Saturday, November the 5th. So make a note in your diary. And also in October, you have shops stocking up their shelves for Christmas and the New Year. This is significant. Now, this is where I start to get a little bit more anorak. And I recommend that October is the one month of the year that you keep a little bit of money in your pocket until you see some really good value buys. I'm not talking cheap buys. I'm not talking extravagant buys. I'm talking about the ratio between the money you spend and the quality of whiskey that is exchanged in that bottle for the money you have spent. That's what I'm really talking about. No other month in the year is more important than October, because in October, all the official bottlings are doing their end of year releases, because at the end of the year in November and December is quite simply, internationally, the biggest, most important time of year for volume of sales. It's hugely important. Some distilleries make 25% of their annual profits in 1 month, December, right? This is hugely important. The independent bottlers, they're out there as well. They're bottling their casks because they know that this is the time of year when they have got the biggest opportunity to be spotted and noticed in the crowd. But everybody's doing it. All the independent bottlers will be bottling special editions, unusual bottlings, single cask options. You'll see official bottlings that come in presentation cases with 2 little matching glasses, for example, or in a special box, or perhaps a ceramic decanter style bottling. And therefore, because of the volume of variety, particularly in the UK, across Europe, and increasingly in the USA, and I'm not talking just about Scotch whisky in the USA, I'm talking about American whisky and bourbon and rye. You've got to look out for all these spirits. Everything's available. And what you do is you get a pen and you get paper and you write down your preferred sources for obtaining bottles. Probably specialist online retailers and specialist high street retailers. You ask around in your local community who's got the reputation, who respects the customers, who gives the customers good advice. You probably know that already because you're a regular whisky buyer or bourbon buyer or rum buyer. You find out who's holding the reputation and you wander in and they have got, the shelves are stacked. They are groaning under the weight of unsold whisky. And then something else happens. The supermarkets and Amazon and travel retail, they have these wee special offers. And all the industries looking at the way the big outlets are going to see how they're going to judge their pricing. So for example, just an illustrative example, in Britain, the largest grocery supermarket chain is called Tesco. I went into Tesco last week, at the end of the first week of October, and I looked at the shelves. They are now primarily filled with more basically presented. I'm going to be nice about it. I don't want to be too harsh. Basically presented generic single malts of less quality, right? But it's reflected in the price. The single malts being sold for £25, right? That's virtually $25 or euros. There are some single malts on offer at £22.50. Because do you know where the biggest race is in whisky? The race to the bottom, the race to the deep discount. With these bottlings, the producers, no matter how they cut their costs, they make very little profit. They're relying on the volume of sales because they're focusing on volume and not quality. And therefore they are of less interest to the higher price tolerating whisky anorak enthusiast, aficionado, malt mate. That's us. You'll see blends that honestly, it doesn't matter what price they are. You're not going to touch them. Not now. Things are changing so rapidly. They're appealing to the passive consumer. And do you know, the passive consumer at this moment in time, as we head towards 2023, wherever you are in the world, the passive consumer is frightened. They're pulling in the purse strings because they're trying to manage the increasing burden of debt through with private credit that they have with banks, heaven help us, never take out credit, malt mates. I'm just telling you, never do it. And mortgages and other debts and costs and rent and all the rest of it. This burden has suddenly amplified. The passive consumer has less to spend and therefore is spending less, buying less, and making more of less. It's the proactive customer, you and I, people like you that watch a video like this. They need to hold on to us. They need our loyalty. But you and I, we've got to pull in our purse strings as well. Everybody's affected. So we're looking for genuine value. We're not looking for super bargain basement budget cheap liquor. We understand, because we're self-taught and educated, that you've got to invest in quality. Producers have got to invest in quality, and we need to acknowledge their investment in the price we pay. But when you see the outrageous price increases that some single malts are being subject to, and the increasingly disingenuous, boring over-presentation of them to the market, it really helps us to recalibrate our compass, to let us know which direction we are going in. And Sober October is when we need to be mentally sober, even if we're still having a drink or two in the evenings, because we're keeping it quality. Through November and December, you're going to buy some really good single malt whiskies. The opportunity exists now more at this time of year than any other time of year, because you'll notice it's been quiet through the summer, but the dam is about to burst on the availability of better quality whiskies globally, particularly in the UK, because businesses are struggling with the costs of production and the costs of presentation of their product to market, and we're aware of it. And don't wait for a Ralphie review. Don't wait for me to review a whiskey before you buy it. Go out there with confidence, because it's a simple formula. You find reliable sources at realistic prices. You spend time with them. You cultivate your business with them in the expectation that they, because they know what stock they have, will know your budget and then hand pick and hand select, which can only happen in a specialist retailer on the high street or online, usually both. And then they will price match better quality whiskies because they know that you're discerning, and they want to build a reputation with you as a customer, a loyal customer, because they know that 2023 is going to be tough times for everybody, including themselves. So that's October covered. Bit more in November, but we're not in November yet. I hope you found this interesting, educational, informative, and most of all enjoyable, malt mates, because I'm simply sharing the experience and the knowledge. It's certainly a time of year that I'm on the lookout for trends, because you'll see some more unusual bottlings from different distilleries with odd age statements, or better value non-age statement whiskies. So you've got to keep your eyes peeled. And I wish you luck. Do you know what? As much as we enjoy the whiskey, we enjoy the knowledge in acquiring our whiskey, because it's a huge advantage. It enriches the whole experience that we have over the passive, harassed, often gullible consumer who is simply led by the bling in shops like the Whisky Shop and travel retail, in the supermarkets, and they're just looking for what's cheapest in Amazon. And that's the way it works. It's a sign of the times, and we have to separate ourselves from that situation, because often at the end of the day, the passive consumer who hasn't done their trade apprenticeship in getting to know whiskey, they'll find themselves shortchanged and and buying into disappointment. Whether they just drink their whiskey with Coca-Cola or neat, or just knock it back with ice cubes, it's all just forgotten in the mix to them. Bless them. I used to be a bit like that myself, but hey, we learn over time. Do we not, malt mates? And the internet certainly helps in that respect. I'm done and dusted here. My message is delivered. I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have, and you're not yet subscribed, please do, because we're coming up to the end of the year and I've got some really, dare I say it myself, juicy reviews coming up of some really juicy value single malts. And frankly, if you're not subscribed, you're going to miss out on the knowledge. There you go. I also have a Patreon channel. Patreon, patreon.com, and you can subscribe. Just buy me a dram each month, a wee dram for Ralphie, and you will get extra content. You will get, in fact, extras. And I often get a little bit more edgy and a little bit more near the frontier with my opinions and perspectives there. And of course, there is the bi-monthly live streams from the Bothy Live. Now, that sounds pretty unique. See you soon. Bye-bye.